do it live.
Okay.
No. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live.
The next stop is Mets Willets Point.
Go. Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
Live, boys.
We
All right,
are
'cause
live, boys.
We are live. I hope y'all enjoyed the intro. I'm
Yeah.
having some audio issues, so I'm gonna give the show to the fellas for a little bit. But I hope you enjoyed the intro. Thank you, producer Rick, for that. Thank you for supporting us on a weekly basis. We had a crazy space. We had a crazy week when it comes to the Mets. We had a crazy sweep that we got to talk about. But I'm going to give the mic to Jay Fern and let everyone think until I fix my damn audio and then so I can stream this show next. Be right back, guys. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Technical
ladies and
difficulties,
gentlemen, welcome to Queens Baseball Live, episode 13. 14. I'm lying. I'm 14. Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys coming through, man. We appreciate y'all. Like, subscribe. Please send this to your friends. Everything. What else? We got a lot to talk about. So
World
the
Series
Mets,
back on, guys? No.
let's put that to a halt. Just because the Mets have been playing well. So last week we had a great conversation when it came to the state of the Mets, right? And a lot of us were on the fence or didn't know how we felt. So therefore, so we have this famous hashtag that I don't know how it went. I don't want to say it went viral, but somehow David Stearns and the New York Mets got a hold of it. Hashtag June 1st, right? Created by our very own Swift. So we'll start with Swift. Lately, the Mets have been playing well. We got a sweep just of the Tigers. So how do you feel about the New York Mets right now?
Today at 9:17 p.m., I feel good coming off a 3-game sweep. If there was a team that desperately needed to, whether it's a delusion that we're hanging on to, whether it's some sort of like this desperation that we needed to see from this team, right? I think it's a critique that we got in last year, because I remember coming into spaces and we'd win 2 out of 3, and we always, and me in particular, I'd call the people who are negative Nancy's, because they would be like, yo man, we don't step on people's throats anymore. We're just okay with doing 2 out of 3, and we'd always say, Mendy punted another game. He said, fuck it, we got the series. We're good. We just needed to win 2 out of 3. Today we swept them, right? Because I think we can all agree, we need to string long. We need to have a couple of these sweeps in here against teams that were struggling like we were in April. Like right now, you can see kind of like where the offense is going. We're going to talk about maybe one of the main reasons, right? The man showed up this week, but some of the youthful enthusiasm that we're seeing from this team, I think it's good to see. We're seeing life. We're seeing things that we wanted to see in April. We're seeing it in May. It's all good. Hashtag June 1st. It'll come before we know it, and we'll have to reassess. But obviously, it's one of those things that if you're going to ask a Met fan after we swept the Tigers, and even though the Tigers are struggling, right, they're 1-8 since Tariq Skubal went out, right? That's a team that kind of lost its North Star too. We have a lot of injuries. Nobody's going to feel sorry for us. The first place Braves, nobody was feeling sorry for them last year when they were going through all their injuries. Nobody. I could tell you there were a lot of Met fans trolling them. Now look at them, right? First place, 9-game lead in the NL East. It doesn't mean they won the division in May, but again, this is what we want. This is how we saw this team playing, especially coming off the first game. So today, May 14th at 9:19, I'm feeling good. How about y'all?
So yeah, I mean, I want to bring it. I want to bring it to Pope real quick because he had a very interesting take in his space, and he mentioned about he wanted to hold back on the playoffs and this and that. So he was at the game today, so I know he got to watch the team, and he got to say a few things, but he said that the energy felt a little different. So I wanted to him to elaborate a little bit more on what he meant by that because he was able to see it and he felt a different type of energy. So Pope, let me know what you think so far as what you see since AJ Ewing's been called up.
I think Pope is still having.
Yeah, he's still
here.
he's still having.
All right, we'll bring him back up. Let me know when you're ready, Pope, and I'll bring you back up. The vibe. I mean, yo, real quick, Fern, since you touched on it, I got the Juan Soto comments queued up about AJ Ewing and the kids overall. Let's take a listen to that real quick and we can react to that. Give me 1 second. Let me pop that up for everyone. And let's see what Soto had to say. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. Pop this up, make this big. Let's go.
What does AJ Ewing bring to this team? He brings a lot. He brings the energy that we need. You know, he's a young core. He's a really humble kid that just came up, and he's doing a great job out there defensively and offensively too. So he's showing every aspect of the game. You know, he's the first game he took 2 walks, he stole the bag, so he showed the speed, and then he showed the defense. He's been showing the defense today and yesterday, and hit a homer. So he's been in every point of the game.
All right. So
You heard it there, guys. Yeah.
Yeah. As you can see, as far as the comments to Soto, Top, how do you feel right now about the Mets situation and then bringing up AJ Ewing and the spark plug he's been?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've said it here. I've said it on Pope Spaces the last 2 games, man. What people have to realize with these young talents is that they provide a spark for a veteran team that we have. You know, veterans feed off these young kids because not only do they want to, you know, teach, but they also want to feed off the energy that they bring. You know, when you're young and you're coming off of a minor league stunt almost your whole career, and they give you that opportunity, you know, all you feel is adrenaline. All you feel, you're running on emotion, you're running on excitement. And guys that are up here that are trying to find something, they feed off of that. So, you know, Carson Bench starts making his adjustments. The team's starting to find a little bit of consistency. Then AJ Ewing comes here, and now this team is showing that, you know, they're kind of back, right? So it's like, you know, these kids are providing so much energy and positivity, and you can see that collectively this team is just they're rallying around them. And you just love to see it. I mean, thank God we were able to see an offensive powerhouse today. You know, they were down 3 and they managed to answer back and never look back. You know, Juan Soto, right? He's really been struggling. We didn't know if he was going to be in the lineup after kind of fouling that ball off of his ankle. They put him in the lineup, and not only does he get 2 hits, he goes 2 for 5. He gets 2 RBIs and he gets a home run. So, you know, to be able to come in back home and deal with a struggling Tigers team and really handle business like you're supposed to. Remember, they've lost 5 out of 6 coming into Citi Field, and we made it worse for them. We swept them. Now you come in, now you stay home, and you got a big energetic Subway Series coming this weekend where the Yankees they literally lost 3 straight. They got swept by the Brewers, and then they lost the series to Baltimore. So they're going through it. So again, if you can capitalize on teams going through it, when they're facing you, I think this is a good way for them to kind of get their mojo back. And again, it started with the kids.
You know what's crazy too, boys? I don't know if y'all felt this, but in weeks past, the Mets go down 1-0. I'm like, yeah, we're not winning this game. Like, the vibe was just off. And then the last couple days, I don't know. I found myself, they were down in every game this series. 2 runs. I think today was 3 runs, obviously. And I felt good even today. McLean gave it up that 3-run homer in the first inning, and I felt pretty good. I don't know why, but I did. I said, you know what? They've been, hitting the ball pretty good lately. Obviously, Ewing has brought a spark. Benj has been phenomenal. Vientos, we got to show him love too because he's been pretty solid as well. But I felt good, and that's weird because, like I said, a couple weeks ago, we're down a run or 2 runs. I'm not confident at all. I'm still at a wait and see with this team. Obviously, I like what we got going on. I like the energy. Juan Soto talked about it that these kids are bringing. I made this point earlier today. I don't know if it was today or yesterday with Pope, but like last year, we were obviously in a lull with our pitching. And I felt like, and we've dissected this a million times, but I thought that there was an opportunity there to get a spark from one of our young guys last year. And we were bringing up the taxi squad of AAA, and we just kept kind of in that malaise, right, with our pitching staff. And I know it's a different situation because we're bringing up a position player, but I'm like, yo, forget the Abanyas of the world, the Slaters of the world. Let's bring one of these kids up. Let's bring some energy. We needed it last year. We didn't do it. You would think David Stearns would learn from his fucking mistakes. Obviously, it took him a month, but he brings the kid up, and it's been, it's been a pleasant. He's been a pleasant surprise to me. Obviously, I've been following him a bit in the minors. I'm not as savvy as some of you guys with the minor league stuff, but he's looked very poised at the plate, very mature. He's taken a couple walks. I think he's taken 4 or 5 walks already in 3 games. So that's pretty impressive. So, and like you said, top big series coming up with the Yankees, man. And again, it's not because it's the Yankees. I'm over the whole Met Yankee, whatever. Like I don't care about it. I really don't. They're a good team. They're a really good team with a good pitching staff, and I want to see how we shake out against them. So again, I'm pleased. 3 games is 3 games. This team needs a long winning streak, especially the bullshit that they put us through and the long losing streaks that we've had. So we need to put, more than 3 games together. So hopefully we can win the series this weekend, and let's keep it rolling, man. But I'm still June 1st, bro. Hashtag June 1st. I'm gonna wait until then. And we'll see where this team is at.
I just wanted to touch on something real quick, just because, Rick just kind of reminded me. Nolan McLean, and I wanted to say this because I think the conversation, because obviously the first game of that Yankee series is going to be Cam Schlittler. And whether we like it or not, the conversation for however many years, right, is going to be Cam Schlittler and Nolan McLean. And they're going to be constantly compared because Nolan McLean was probably not the most heralded of our pitching prospects that came up, but he ended up being one of the best, right? Always featured on Pitching Ninja just because for the absurd movement that he has on all his pitches. And he's gained like a national following. He also got a prominent spot on the U.S. team, right? That's something that wasn't really given. And then Cam Schlittler, of course, he had that Game 3 start against the Red Sox where he dominated for 8 innings. He's followed that up with this season that he's currently had. I think today, when you're talking about a guy that had to come in, the pen had kind of been used a little bit, not overextended from the last 2 nights, but the pen had kind of been used. And so we needed somebody to come in and give us 7 innings. And that is usually the job of the ace. And I've been kind of going back and forth, especially on Twitter, about, is Freddie Peralta an ace? I jokingly call him among our Queens baseball chat, I call him 5-inning Freddie, right? He goes 5 innings. It's all good. He might go 6. But again, that's who he was. And I think a lot of times people will misrepresent what Freddie Peralta was when we traded him. This is who Freddie Peralta is. He goes 6 innings. He doesn't give you 7, 8, 9 innings. He doesn't do that, right? But he'll give you 5, 6 innings, which is what, and somebody put the term new age ace around him. And I said, all right, I mean, that's a cute way to dress up what he is. And that's kind of why I was like, man, he's a great guy that you want pitching Game 2, maybe Game 1. Okay. And people kind of came out, well, why did we pitch him opening day? I'm like, that's true. But I think we all knew Nolan McLean is probably our best pitcher when everything is going right. Nolan McLean has the nastiest stuff. He added velocity. We knew that was the case. We also knew that Freddie Peralta has a reputation in this league, and if we're going to try and re-sign him, especially during the season or after the season, we wanted to give him a couple of like little nods, like, "Hey, you're going to be our home opening day starter," things like that. But you want a guy to come in and give you 7. And Nolan McLean came in, gave up that 3-run homer in the first, and what does he do? He gives us 6 shutout innings, going the rest of the way, got us down 3-0, but then, gave us 6 brilliant shutout innings. That's what an ace does. When he doesn't have his A+ stuff and he's got his C+ stuff, he can still power through 7 innings, give you 3 earned run. That's what an ace does. So I'm gonna say that while it's gonna be fun, obviously tomorrow is Clay Holmes versus Cam Schlittler, and the conversation is always going to be Nolan McLean. I think we as Met fans need to just hey, we've got one. We've got a guy that we can rely on to give us a chance, because that's what an ace does. He gives you 6, 7 innings every time, and he gives you a chance. Because if you've got a guy that's only giving up 2 earned runs per start, that to me, and then sometimes we'll just go 8 innings shutout, 8 shutty, like that. That's what an ace does. And today, especially, it reminded me hey man, when he doesn't have his A+ stuff, he can still give us 7 real quality innings.
You guys hear me, right? Just want to make sure.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah, good take, my brother.
No,
So it was an interesting day. For those Star Wars fans, it was just, again, you had to get these special tickets. I'm gonna see if you guys can see on the camera, but let's see if it pops out. I don't think so, right? Does it? No.
Nah, you can't see it.
Okay, so maybe from far, but this is the Nolan McLean bobblehead. That's the box of it right there. Check if you can see the other stuff. I mean, I have other stuff that I wanted to show you on the profile, but it was a special day, man. Like, first of all, Star Wars fans loved it. I mean, you had Darth Vader there, you had freaking stormtroopers there. You had Nolan McLean, who just happens to pitch today, because I don't think that was supposed to be like something that they scheduled, especially with the rain out last week. They could have worked it around. Maybe they changed it. It doesn't matter. He gave up the 3-run bomb before we even sat down, and me and Mez, with a shout out to you, Mez, we weren't even ready, worried about it. That's the funny thing, and it's because the team has been playing a little bit better. And who's gonna know that he was gonna do 7 innings there? And I know he walked a couple of guys. I see 3 walks there. I don't even remember. I don't remember the walks. I remember the 7, definitely the 7 hits that he gave up. But 7 Ks, 6 hits, 3 earned runs. That's what you need from an ace, man. If to give up. And again, this home run was just got out. Like, what you gonna do? Where that's home run? The vibe, though, Jay Friend mentioned it before, the vibe was a lot different. And shout out to you, J Mac. I mean, me and Mez were supposed to sit behind home plate, but in the 500 sections, we got upgraded to the rich seats, and then we got upgraded again to right behind the team. And I said this in the space today, man. It is different watching the game 10 feet away from these guys. I am not a Bo fan. I am not a Marcus Semien fan. And I was rooting for both these gentlemen. And I made sure they heard me too, because those are the guys who were struggling, right? Look, Bo didn't get a hit. Marcus Semien got a home run. You saw what Juan Soto did. To see the Ewing home run live with like his dad 30 feet away from us, literally like 30 feet away from us. I know you see J Max. I think he put an update that the Mets shouted him out because he went over there to give him props. I met him, by the way, his dad, and it was just a really cool experience. It just feels good to win, guys. And yeah, it was maybe half the stadium was filled, but man, they were loud and it felt different today. And I'm hoping that for the positivos that, you know what I'm saying, or like us, the realists, that this does turn the season around. And look, it's a long way, but we asked them to sweep the Tigers, and they did that. That covered the game they should have won over this weekend, where they lost 2 out of 3. So I'm good with that. Now, again, it's a Subway Series, so that's always going to be a tough thing. It seems like the Yankees, when they do win series from us, they usually win that first one, but they are at home now, so they got to figure it out. But the vibe was very different today, and the fact that we got two, hopefully studs, especially in the outfield. Now I know we're going to talk about outfielders or former outfielders later on. It feels good. It feels good to have two guys like that. And look, this is not a race between who's better, Benj, Ewing, but man, does Ewing look like the better player? And that's not no shade at Benj, because mind you, he basically won the game yesterday. He did his thing again today. Another 2 hits by Benj. He's has that batting average almost a 240. That's awesome. You know what I'm saying? Ewing is just, I mean, Ewing seems like he's different. You know what I'm saying? So it was fun to watch, and Met fans want more, to the point where maybe the Pope goes on Saturday. Who knows?
Pope, did you see the interaction between the two? Did you see any kind of like, because they were in Brooklyn together, they were in Bing together, so they know they've seen each other and they know, hey man, I'm right on your heels. Did you see any of that?
I gotta be honest, dude. I recorded so much today, and it was a lot of them coming. After the innings, that's when you see how they're interacting. They look real cool. All the outfielders are really tight. But you know what I did notice? Now that you mentioned it, Mendy, Kyle Correa, and the first baseman, the Dominican dude, the first Gochi, they're out there, like especially when they're in offense. By the way, they're really really out there, and then like coaching and managing. And we always ask, because a lot of us are not, a lot of Met fans right now are not Mendy supporters, but he's there, man. He's there. He's very vocal. He's the team, like the players, minus Juan Soto, who there's an interesting conversation maybe for another time. But Juan Soto is like a dude that just he locks in. You could say you could say that you live in the house next to him in DR, in the family house. He is not. He's like zeroed in, man. He's just not. Bo, like guys like Marcus Semien, Mark Ventures, by the way, shout out to him. He gave acknowledged us a little bit. Again, we were like right behind it. It's a little different, but I did not see like anything extra from the kids, but I'm pretty sure they're tight. I gotta go back to my tape, because I recorded a lot of shit from the players coming out of the defense, and that's how you see how they're interacting. The first thing when Soto hit the home run, Hector was right next to me, and he saw Lindor right away coming up. So I guess he liked the home run. So it's like, hashtag fake narratives, or not all the way narrative like that. You know what I'm saying? So when they win, they look better. So
hey, Swift, I just want to throw it out there, man. We may be swindling the Pope to like Mendy.
I'll say this. I will say this, and this is the only thing I said. I said the Mendy hate, I think, just because of the way that the roster has been constructed, I think he's kind of been like a dude rowing a ship, right? But everybody else is going this way, and he's trying to push them. And I think the managers are the first guys always on the firing line, right? They're the first guys that you're going to blame. The reason, and I wanted to say this last week, but I forgot to say this. I feel like Stearns can't fire him, because then it becomes he's the next one on the firing squad, right? So if you acknowledge that Mendy is not the guy, you have now acknowledged that you have chosen the wrong leadership. So I think there's part of that. But even today, like in a new front office, in today's front offices, the manager position is meant to be a guy that relates well with the players and keeps the clubhouse like going forward and
all right,
moving in unison. I think that's Mendy calling. But they try to get them moving in the right direction, and I think that's how they're evaluated. Whereas we might think that they're evaluated on wins and losses. So when you hear someone like David Stern say, I don't want to answer any more questions I'm not going to keep answering this same question. When Joe Sherman kind of pressed him like, hey man, like is Mendy safe? I'm not going to keep answering the question. I like the job that Mendy's doing. I think people have to understand what he means by that and how he's viewing the job that Mendy is doing. We might not agree 100%. I'm with you on that. We might not agree, but the job title that we assume he has might not be how he's being graded.
That's tough, man. Because look, we're not trying to change. Like, if you don't like, to the fans out there, if you guys don't like Mendy, I'm with y'all on that. Like. But to the guy's point, it should not be an excuse to keep someone around. You know what I'm saying? Look, they're playing better, so maybe we could channel this conversation. The Mendy got to get fired talks.
Yeah.
But he has a lot to prove to me, brother. Like, he has a lot to prove to me. But what I saw today, and obviously helps that they were winning, is just a guy that gives a shit, man. And look, you can't see that on SNY, man. You got to be there. You know what I'm saying? I'm not telling you how to freaking get the expensive bougie seats. Thank you again, J-Mac, because I pay for those. But it's like you see a different game when you go in person. So look, that's no excuse for the team has been playing the last year. Everybody knows the record of the last year. But I don't give a shit about the last year. I care about the last 3 days, man. They swept. Like, we asked them to do something, and we were in Spaces. I was hosting Spaces. You guys were listening to Spaces. We're all Spaces for hours and hours a day, be it mine, be it any other Spaces. Joe runs Spaces. Hector runs Spaces. Flip runs Spaces now in the daytime. Everyone is doing Spaces. Shit, Black Charlie was running a Space today. More on that in a little bit. So, like, everybody runs Spaces. Everybody's saying the same thing. We asked the team to sweep, and they did that. So we could turn on our negativo hat all the time, or negative, or we like to call it realistic hat. But they did exactly what they're supposed to do, and that also gives the manager some flowers, at least for the last 3 days. Now, prove me. Now we actually sweep. That's cool. Now we actually to win a series now, and it's against the big bad Yankees, right? I know they haven't been playing well, but they're still the big bad Yankees. They're a team that is way superior than us, at least this year, right? So if you do that while you're under 500, that would show me even more. So
Yeah. So if before we move on, I just want to go back to the whole Mendy thing. It's not like we're first of all, I think it honestly, all of us here, we're not trying to convince anyone as to move like in a sense to like, oh, love Mendy. It's one of those things where it's like also we're not at least for me, I'm not trying to convince people to say, hey, get him fired. But there's a lot of things behind it. Prime example, Mendy is, like Swift said, is one of those things where if he gets fired, then it's like David Stearns chose the wrong person, and now Steve Cohen's gonna look at it like, did I choose the right hobo? So that opens up a can of worms that I don't think David Stearns wants to open right now, especially how the team has looked for the last month. On top of that, it's one of those things where it's like where we look at Mendy and we criticize him on everything that he does, but there's also good things that come out of it. We just assess as everybody else does, is day by day. Um, for me, and this is just my own personal belief, I've said it. He's not going to get fired. And the reason why he's not going to get fired is because he's under contract. After this year, he has an option. So, do they pick up the option? Well, it all depends on this year. I don't think that it looks good on the Mets for him to get fired due to the fact that he's on the contract. It looks bad for David Stearns and Steve Cohen. So I don't think that it's gonna make sense because I look, and I'm not sorry to sit here and bash this guy, but Kai Correa, he looks like a nerd, and he doesn't look like anything that would look like a manager. I'm sorry, he looks like one of those kids that you look in school, in high school, and you're like, man, get the out of my way. He doesn't look like an athlete. He doesn't. And I'm not trying to say that I need an athlete or whatever, but he doesn't look like a manager. He looks like a little ass kid. He looks like a little cornball. I'm sorry. I don't. He doesn't fit the criteria to me that looks like a manager. And they're not gonna put somebody in the middle of the season where doesn't have any experience. So it just has to be. And I'm not trying to tell the Mets fans to like, hey, look, deal with it. But you got to understand the big picture. Mendoza, I this is again my opinion. I feel like Mendoza is going to be here for the rest of the year, regardless of what happens to the Mets. Like I said, at the end of the year, he has a option, and that's when it's like, well, if you make the playoffs, we might pick it up. If you don't make the playoffs, he's not going to be here anymore. So, I've never understood the whole Mendy getting fired due to that part. As far as him being a manager, I don't think he's a good manager. But I've accepted that he's going to be here for at least for the rest of this year. After this, I don't want him here because I don't think he's going to get us over the hump.
Damn, Jay Fern was a bully confirmed. Jesus.
Jay Fern was giving dude swirlies in the in the locker room. You know what? Too, real quick before we go to, because I want to get you. We'll go to the Stearns presser that he had and obviously react to a couple of things that he said, and let me know when you guys want to. Is there if there's anywhere you want to stop? Let me know, and we'll react to it. But it almost seems like Cohen wants sustainability so bad that it's gonna take a lot for not Mendy. We'll put Mendy to the side because he has like you said, he's not guaranteed to come back next year. I never was one to be a big Mendy. I wasn't. The only thing I blamed him for, not so much his in-game decisions, because there's been injuries, there's been a lot of shit guys on the performance, so on and so forth, but how the guys came out, like how they came into the season. It seemed like just out of the gate sluggish, obviously not hitting well, mental lapses. So that I was blaming, like that was where I was at more with Mendy. But I think Cohen is dying for some sustainability, especially let's not forget his first couple years as owner. There's been a merry-go-round with GMs and managers. So. But again, you can't force it if it's not working. So the Mendy thing is a conversation, I think, for later in the year, depending on how this team performs. I don't think Stearns is gone. And I'm not happy with him, but it's going to take a lot for him to get fired after this year. But again, that's a whole nother conversation. Let's get to the presser, guys, if you guys are ready for that. And I will pull that up for you guys. I've forwarded it a little bit, but
what did you guys miss or maybe get wrong projection wise that you think has led to these results so far?
Yeah, we haven't been a good enough offensive team, and we haven't scored enough runs. And I think it's a combination of there have been some injuries, and there have also been players who have been healthy who haven't performed at their custom levels. And we need to do everything we can. We are doing everything we can to help those players get back to where they're capable of performing.
Let me stop it there, guys. Is it because that honestly, I think 80% of this is players just underperforming and this team just not being a good offensive team. And obviously he's the guy that put the team together. Is it as simple as the offense just being dog shit, or is it more layers to it? Because that's what he's saying. He's saying it's the offense and injuries. That's what I'm hearing.
I mean, that's some of it, right? Let's be real. That's some of it, but it's like, what is he gonna say? I had a dog shit off season, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what he should be saying. That's how you throw some Met fans some red meat. Look, how I would handle it, like, yeah, of course, some of my moves that in the off season, probably surprised some of the Met fans. I'm surprised that some of the decisions I made with some of these players have not, worked out so far. But I do believe in those players because that's why I acquired them, or that's why I did this. And we got to give it more time. It just seemed like it seems, and again, this is a lot of the criticism that David Stearns gets, like in just normal like spaces and through Twitter, the Twitter timeline, that he's not a really good communicator. It seems like, and I don't know if we're gonna go to that response that he had with Joe Sherman, or if that's after, but that's kind of like the reason why, on top of us Met fans not being happy with the team, is like losing a lot of the favorite players that are gone. We also have like him speaking to us like this. So do we have that, Ricky? Or
Yeah, I'm forwarding
yeah,
a little
just let
bit
me
to
know.
get
And
Joe Sherman.
it's very, very, very just strange the way he communicates. But I mean, you can see. Obviously, number one is the offense. I mean, Bo Bichette, my God, my brother, we still haven't even gotten to a 600 OPS, let alone your normal 758 and change, brother. Like, it's just been weird, man. Robert has not played. We kind of the ones that didn't want him here. You guys are right. I didn't want him here, but when we got the trade and we traded for Acuna, I was happy with the damn trade. I was like, shit, that was a steal for us. Not working out.
He had a good week. He had a good week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He got like
good
good
I'm
10 days.
sorry, but before we, he has such a punchable face. Jesus
there he goes with the
Christ,
anger
man.
issues again, Jay Fern. Jesus, but I will say this. I will say this with Stearns, and just press conferences in general. I think they're so useless. I think the days of going out drinking with Mickey Mantle after a game, those are gone. Those days are gone. If you know Bob Ryan, he's a very famous Boston, like he followed the Boston Celtics. He covered the Boston Celtics in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. He covered those teams. And he's like, I used to go out with Bob Cousy after a game. Like just like process that for a second. Imagine these guys. I mean, with David Stearns, they probably, go to a Rubik's Cube conference. I don't know where he would go, but like a math competition. But they would actually go out with these players, and they had a relationship with these guys where they could communicate. And a lot of that stuff was they felt free enough to communicate with them because they had a real relationship. There isn't that kind of relationship these days with these. I mean, the last one probably is like, the reason why you see Brian Windhorst so much was that he was just a dude covering Ohio sports before LeBron showed up. He showed up, he built a relationship with LeBron and his boys. He actually built a relationship with his boys to help him get a relationship with LeBron. And he rode that all the way to now you see his fat ass like on your cameras every single time. Same thing with Stephen A. Smith. You can blame AI. AI used to tell Stephen A. Smith and give him exclusive interviews. I mean, those days are gone where they have that relationship, where the media has that relationship. So now you come and you see press conferences that's just word salad. Like, I don't get anything from any of these. Like Pope said, what did you want him to say? Fucked up, yeah. Shit. No, he's not going to do that. Obviously, he's going to talk about the process by which he made some of the decisions. And obviously he's going to say like, yeah, but is he wrong? Yes, it has been injury a little bit. I would blame injury maybe 15% of why we're at this position. The other 85% is guys haven't performing to their baseball cards. I'm sorry, Bo Bichette, Pope called him out. 780 OPS. Like where is that guy? Right? You're not seeing. Like obviously Juan Soto has kind of been up and down, but Juan Soto is going to be Juan Soto. We know at the end of the year what his numbers are going to be. We know that Francisco Lindor at the end of the year, when we see his numbers, it's going to be what it is, right? Everybody else, we were hoping for the Brett Beatty, tour. We said Mark Vientos might get in the game, right? The beginning of the year. Now he's been our first baseman. He is our first baseman at this point, right? Luis Robert Jr., we were hoping that he would overcome his injury concerns. Now we're like, oh, 20 million option. We're not picking that up next year, right? And a lot of the process that David, I think the issue that we have is the process by which David Stearns kind of made those decisions in a vacuum. We can kind of go back and be like, well, Polanco's never really been injury-free his entire career. Luis Robert Jr. has never been really injury-free. So can you even point to them and be like, well, they're injured? Well, yeah, they came with, batteries sold separately, like they came with warts when we took them out the packaging, right? They came with issues, and we had that, and we knew that.
Man.
Now we're looking back at the process and we're being like, oh man, actually, like, why did we get rid of Brandon Nimmo for the final 2 years just to get out of 2 years of his contract. Should a team with the richest owner in baseball be doing that? Should they be making a baseball decision based on numbers like that? Or should we just have kept him when we had Starling Marte in the final 2 years? And that was me. And I was shaking my ass because I was like, we did need to make changes. Now we're looking at, we made a lot of changes. We made too many changes to the whole structure of the team. And now, you got all the fans being like fans who are fans of Pete. I mean, if Pete were on this team, would he have changed really a lot of what our final result? Well, okay, we'd have 18 wins instead of 17. Oh, great, but we'd still be in this mess. But I think ultimately that to me, yes, he does have a very punchable face. He does absolutely, and we don't like to see him even smile. And right now, I love that it's paused on kind of a smirk that we see, and we don't like to see that when our team is 8 games under 500. We don't like to see that. I get it. I get all of that. But again, my whole point is we can sit here and analyze that. I don't expect him to come out and say it until after the season. He's not going to say it, right? Hashtag June 1st. He's probably hashtag October 1st. Talk
Can we explain to everybody what June 1st is, by the way?
Man, listen. So me
Yeah,
and Pope,
let's
we
do
went back
it,
and
man.
forth
Let's do it.
No, so me and Pope went back and forth about obviously a lot of the offseason. I was one of those people that said listen, man, we still need time to kind of sit here and evaluate. I was basically, now that I think about it, I was basically playing the role of David Stearns right now. I probably have a punchable face to some of y'all when I say that, but you know what I'm saying? But I was saying wait till June 1st to kind of come up with, and Poe's like, all right, man, June 1st, we go see. And so he put it on his he put it on his bio.
Yeah,
and he sent it to all of us. He's like, yo, and he's been hashtagging June 1st ever since. And so it's one of those things. And I've been hashtagging it too. Not in the sense that I've kind of been kind of getting late early, if you know what I mean, and so we take our time to kind of figure out, because now we're hearing all the whispers of, oh, Freddie Peralta's on the market. Oh, are we going to be selling a lot of players? Are our teams going to be selling early? What is the time that David Stearns is going to look at the whole team and just be like, you know what, I need to scrap this. I did the wrong thing. That's going to be an interesting discussion. And again, a 3-game sweep of the Detroit Tigers that gets us to 7 games under 500 isn't really going to change his direction wherever he's going. But maybe taking 2 out of 3 in the next 2 or 3 series, that might change some of the calculus that goes into making some of these decisions. So again, step by step, we'll see. June 1st, again, that's going to be another major marking point for Pope. He's going to be like, yo, Swift, I told you, dummy. I told you, dummy. You know what I'm saying? Or I'll be like, yo, Pope, June 1st. What's up, baby? We're not all that far behind. We'll see.
We won't be back by June 1st, but
right.
the conversation about June 1st was really more about Nimmo versus Marcus Semien and kind of evaluating that trade. I think you could take the L on that trade right now. I mean, we're going to have to wait a little bit, a couple of years to see where Nimmo's at. And I know Nimmo's banged up. One thing I found out about Nimmo is not even nothing to do with him and where we were going to put him. If he was going to be our 4th outfielder / DH, he would have played something. I know a lot of people are saying, hey, kids weren't going to play if Nimmo was here. I don't believe that. They'll find a way, especially when we don't have an actual DH. A lot of people didn't like Nimmo, though. That's what I found out the last couple of months. There was not a lot of, I thought Nimmo was a fan favorite, and he was not. He was not. There's been a lot of he got traded. I was like, bro, we got Marcus Semien, bro, 580 OPS. Not an Nimmo fan. So it's so that's what I learned. I'm like, oh shit, maybe it was just a handful of us, or maybe it was not as many people as I thought that had love for this dude. And it wasn't even about keeping him around, but there's so much you could have done with that second. I mean, look,
I find that very hard to believe. I'm sorry. There's no way that somebody can tell me somebody can literally sit me down with a straight face and talk to me and tell me that they didn't appreciate or like Nimmo as a New York fan.
Bro. And that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised to hear, or maybe they're just saying because he left, or maybe they're not a big fan. I mean,
literally the least problematic dude on the team. Literally the least problem. My man used to run to first base. On a walk. The least problematic dude. That people hated him because he ran to first base. Just imagine that.
And think about it, like, let's be real. The last thing I'll say, I think Jay Fern has something too, and then we just finished the this one segment when it comes to David Stearns. But like baseball's weird, right? Soto got hurt. You could have done everything you did with for Brennan Nimmo here, is what I'm saying. So June 1st is coming. We're gonna look at the number, we're gonna see the two players, but that's gonna be a better conversation when the first year's done and after the second year's done. And let's see if Marcus Semien is even here. It's just the Marcus Semien situation. Look, he had a home run today, and he had a good play today. So they play him every day, and that's something. That's something like right there. That OPS ain't gonna get any better. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't see him as an everyday offensive player, but that glove is there in the middle, and we're gonna keep seeing it. So let's hope for better for days like today, for more days like today than the other stuff. So Jay, go ahead, bro. I think you have something, right?
Yeah, just two things. One is I appreciate Rick, the producer. He's like super duper. To pausing it right at the. Do you mean to sit in there and tell me,
Bro, I did that for you.
Face,
I did that for you.
That face is not punchable.
Punchable face for sure.
But to get to on a real note, for me is one of those things where I at this point right now in May 14th, Stearns is not going to say that he admitted for two reasons. One is the male ego would not allow him to this early, and two, has a lot of pride. He takes a lot of pride in what he did in Milwaukee, and what he's done. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, right now it doesn't look like I don't know what I'm doing, but he has the quote unquote track record to say, hey, I know what I'm doing. But to dissect that and go into further things is one of those where it's like, well, this is a different ball club, and blah blah blah. But that's all I wanted to say. He's not going to take the accountability right now due to the fact that it's May 14th. And two, it was just like that face is very punchable. And I'm not angry or a violent person. Well, I could be, but it doesn't matter. That's a very punchable face. I'm sorry.
This live is not going to help that, Jay. I'm just letting you know.
Bro, I backed it up a little bit. Like the question hasn't come yet because I felt like this pause right here was perfect. So
it is, man.
I did that on
Oh
purpose
my
for you.
god, it's just these damn
for everybody
Harvard
out there
nerds,
watching.
bro. They think they're better than everybody.
God. So I think this is the Jesus Christ, the Joel Sherman question. So I'll hit play on this. Let me know if the audio is good or if it's not.
In the game, and so
It's coming up after this one.
yes, I think we look at that and say that could be a really productive outfield for a long time.
Joel. David, it's been about 2 weeks since you offered a sentence to a single entity about the status of your manager. I just had a couple of questions about it. You said, we don't see this as a manager problem. Whose problem is it, and what are you doing to fix that problem?
Yeah, I think we've underachieved. There's no question. Collectively as an organization, we've got to figure out a way to get better, and I think we will.
And the second part of the 16 words you offered was, we don't intend to make a change. What does intend mean? Like, what length does this manager have?
Look, I'll let my words speak for themselves. I've been very clear and consistent that I think Mendy does a really good job. I believe Mendy does a really good job. I like coming to work with him every day. I'm not going to address this every 2 weeks when I talk to you guys, and I'll leave it at that.
Wow. Tom, before you go, so it's like
Walk up to New York, bitch. This ain't Milwaukee.
Yeah, that was you could sense the frustration as he was answering that. I guess that's how he gets mad and he just starts and like he got like really upset about that. Joe Sherman, that you're the real MVP for that question, man, because he threw that in there. Like he's like, no, but yeah, on like how long does and it's crazy because I think if David Stearns has a pulse, he knows what Joe Sherman has been saying about the manager and what John Heyman have been saying about the manager, and they both actually a couple of weeks ago weren't really like on like this like a manager needs to be there has to be a manager change. But the last couple of weeks there have been. So he really like digged in there, and he didn't know how to handle that question. And it's like, that's not what you really want to say, man. Like, and look, man, and I get it, man. He has to be emotional, but man, you have to really think about, you have a series coming up still. Like, you have a Detroit series at the time, because I was before the Detroit series started. Now you have a Subway series. It's just, man, like, dude, like, it's just been, it's not the stuff that we want to hear when a lot of the fan base is against you right now. Yeah, of course it sucks. Of course I'm looking at Pete Alonso fucking highlights. I'm wearing his fucking jersey still. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna do that. It's just happened. It wasn't like it happened years ago. You don't see me fucking wearing a fucking DeGrom jersey. That was years ago. You know, and if I did that, it's probably for a throwback. But yeah, of course we're attached to some of these players, and the record speaks for itself. And the way you answer, brother, you got to go to like communication school or something, bro. Top, my bad. Go ahead, brother.
Muted up top.
My bad. He was due for a question like that. Since David Stearns has become the president of baseball operations, the media has been very, very nice with questions with him. There has not been a media outlet to give him a rough question that he has been stifled with. And I think that's the issue when it comes to this media. You know, David Stearns is going to try to move. He's going to try to, move away and try to, backdoor his way as much as he can. And that, he's supposed to stick up for Mendy. That's what, that's what he's supposed to do. Pause. However, if you want to get the truth out of your president of baseball operations, who has made this roster construction, who has hired every single staff that's in here, who literally the reason why this team is what it is because of him. I need somebody in the media to really ask him, like, yo, what are we doing here? And I think that's what Joe Sherman kind of asked him in a way. It's like, where do you see this going with this guy? Because I don't. And if I don't ask you this question, I'm not doing my job. I'm not going to be company man, and I'm not going to ask you what you think is comfortable. No, I'm going to ask you the uncomfortable questions, because you're in New York fucking City. You're in a fucking city that deserves wins or nothing. If we don't get nothing, you're going to take accountability for it. This, like Jay Fern said, this isn't Milwaukee. See, Milwaukee shrugs their shoulders with baseball. At the end of the day, they win, they win. They lose, they lose. No, if we lose and we have a losing season, somebody's going to be held accountable, because it's New York fucking City. We deserve to win. We deserve to see some goddamn chips. So at the end of the day, you're brought here because our owner sees something in you in terms of your intelligence with how you run a baseball team. And so far, you're not running it. I think you should be. So I'm going to ask you these questions and get you uncomfortable because you're not doing your job correctly. I don't feel like it. So, Joe Sherman did his thing. At the end of the day, Joe Sherman, the way New York treats its media, Joe Sherman could have got fired tomorrow, and it would have been disgusting, but it would have been worth it in a way, because David Stearns hasn't had these questions thrown to him. So, shout out to Joe Sherman for that. That was beautiful. And you could tell David Stearns got a little bit uncomfortable with that. I'm not going to answer this every 2 weeks. And, you deserve some criticism as much as anybody else. So shout out to Joe Sherman for that.
Word up. So a couple of things. I know I want to forget. So obviously, these lives, and shout out to everyone that's on the live, and shout out to all the comments. I know we're going to get to the comments a little bit, but like, every week is going to be different, man. Like last week, even though we won 2 out of 3 series, we acted the way we did, and now we lost a series in the weekend, but now we swept the series. So of course we're going to feel different, because again, we went 4-2 the last 6. You know what I'm saying? So that's just what it is. That's just, and then before that we also went 4-2. So the team is playing better. This is a good time to talk about. We have had like a debate about this for years in Spaces and in Queens Baseball. And it's a good segment to get to a good intro to get to the last segment, which is the minors. And I know Swift works really hard. And I'm also I love the minors too. And one of the things that really I want to say shocked, because I guess I was just not a believer in this 2021 team, and this was years ago when when we made the trade for Javi Baez, which, by the way, those 2 months of Javi Baez, he produced, man. He was almost 300. I never believed it was going to work out. One, I didn't believe in the team. That was just me. And two, we didn't really have that much outfielders. Now, PCA was a guy that we drafted the year before. So the reason PCA got brought up today was because I actually was very happy to see a guy like AJ Ewing producing in the majors. I'm thrilled to see a guy like Bench producing in the majors because I do feel like the Mets as an organization have to pay for the sins of trading PCA. And that started a big debate. So I'm not sure if we looked up the research, but at the time when we traded PCA, he was going to end up in August of 2021 as our best prospect. We just drafted him the year before. That's how bad our farm was. Mind you, it was him and it was Ramirez. And Ramirez is, I don't even think in baseball anymore, let alone the Mets organization. I think we picked him up. We put him in a 40-man. We protected him from the 40-man a couple of years ago, and last year we just gave him up, and then we threw him in I think high A, not even double A. So, and those were the two outfielders. So for me, 2 months of Javi. Look, hindsight's 2020, but 2 months of Javi Baez and PCA to see what he's become last year in All-Star. I know he hasn't had a good start so far, and basically a platinum glove fucking center fielder, best defensive center fielder. It's tough to see, but not as tough when you have two guys. So I know that brought a big debate between the guys and Jay Friend. So I wanted to bring it up in the live because I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. So before we do that, I want Swift to kind of like bring us to a positive note on how the minors are doing, so that we can get into the heated debate.
All right. All right. I'll do the minors pretty quickly. I just want to highlight guys that we know about what Jack Wenninger is doing. We obviously saw the big promotion this week. AJ Ewing got the call up this week, and he did his thing, right? Just a note: MLB Pipeline usually comes out with their lists and rankings, and they update it pretty regularly. And they have a brand new number one, Jesus Made, who was drafted and brought up by some of the guys that are now in the Mets organization, right? Jesus Made is now the number one prospect. He's 19. Okay. He's younger than some of the kids that are going to be drafted this year in the MLB draft. So just to give you perspective, and he's in AA, and he's hitting against, 21-year-old and 22-year-olds. So he's obviously like a really great prospect. But in terms of the pipeline, the MLB pipeline list, the Mets, and by the way, this is how MLB awards makes the awards for those prospect. You have to be on this top 100 list to get that MLB incentive at the end of the year, right?
Yep.
So this list is the list that we need to pay attention to. AJ Ewing was the one that made the biggest leap out of any prospect in baseball. He went from 78 to 34. He went up 44 spots from the preseason list to this list that just came out this week. So that's pretty impressive. And obviously coming off the promotion, he was really good. Mets, obviously Jack Wenninger, 1.08 ERA, second among 129 minor league pitchers in any level, right? With at least 30 innings pitched this year. And then another guy I mentioned last week, lefty Anderson Severino. He's in AAA, 16 innings pitched.
Yeah.
Finally gave up an earned run, so he does have an ERA. It's not 0 anymore. He gave up 2 earned runs, 18 Ks, 8 walks. Right-handed batters against this lefty, 2 for 31 against him this season. So we might see him, lefty specialist, might be coming up. But here's another guy that I think a lot of people might not be paying attention to. Gabriel Rodriguez. He was a guy, 6'1". He's a 27-year-old, and he was originally drafted by the Braves way back in 2018. And he was signed by the Mets this year. Lefty reliever. He sits 94 to 96. He can hit 99. The reason he was let go, struggles with control. Right now, 11 innings pitched. He's got 17 Ks. Okay, and he's been doing his thing. Last week, 2 innings, perfect. 2 Ks. JT Benson, he's another guy that comes in. We know about Elian Pena. 7 extra base hits over 26 at bats since May 1st. And then we look at another guy that I just wanted to bring up is Channing Austin. I don't know how many people know Channing Austin's name. This is another guy. He's been pitching in Double-A this year with Bingham. Oh, sorry, in Brooklyn this year. 24 innings, 33 Ks, season ERA at 1.42. It's the second lowest in the league. That's another guy that we all should have on the radar. Jonathan did not have a good time tonight. Did not have a good outing.
Oh boy.
He and it's a realistic conversation, right? It's a realistic conversation. Does he benefit from just throwing him in the bullpen? Is he going to be an elite bullpen reliever? Is his starting days maybe over? We don't know. But right now, obviously, Jonathan Santucci's pitched tonight. I haven't seen what he did this week, but we're just going to check him out. That's another guy. But the minors are producing. The minors are producing guys. We'll see how long it goes. But again, going back to the conversation that we just had, going back to the conversation that the Pope and Jay Fern, and I think a lot of Met fans, the PCA discussion, it bears reminding, because I think a lot of fans this week were, well, why are we bringing up AJ Ewing? It reeks of desperation, right? He hasn't had enough time in AAA, and this whole concept of what is a correct amount of time in AAA or at any level, right? There are guys who skip whole levels. Michael Conforto never even took an at bat. Remember in 2015, he came right to the majors, right? Did that affect him? No. That man still hit 2 home runs in a World Series game. That man was still killing it for us during the postseason, right? So what is the correct amount of time? It is very difficult to know, and that's something that, as an organization, how are we evaluating it? AJ Ewing is there, right? I was making the case that maybe Nick Morabito should have gotten the shot, because I said he can do right now what Tyrone Taylor does. He can be that 4th outfielder.
Facts.
We probably need him, right?
Yeah.
And we could trade Tyrone Taylor, maybe get a developmental prospect, put him out there, and maybe we might get some sort of value, because right now his value is very low. We'll see that. We'll see what happens. Obviously, like, it's going to be a very, very long-term thought process. And the thing was, PCA didn't have that much time. How could we have possibly known? But again, what is the correct amount of time to know what a player's value is when we're making those decisions? I think the whole thing about the whole thing about the PCA thing was that the right time to trade a elite defensive center fielder, because he was not a hitter yet, right?
No.
He was not. It was always a question of whether he would hit at the time. Was that the right time to trade a guy? Because to me, even at the time, I said, if you're going to trade PCA, you had better re-sign him, Javi Baez, because then the trade might make sense, because you've kind of basically said we're just going to use that, because you don't know, and I think there is that question of, like, if you have one really elite skill like PCA clearly had at the time, he was on all defensive teams. The whole question was whether that guy could ever hit, right? We have a guy right now that we just took from the Braves, Christian Pache, elite defensive center fielder. That man never hit. Yeah. That's why he left the Braves. That's the thing with the prospects, right? Jonah Tong is on every single list. He still has not left a top 100 list. Right now, what did we just say? That guy's a bum. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know. Like, we just don't know. It's so early. And so that is the danger that you run into when you make trades that are kind of like it could be seen as short-sighted, because this is the risk you run. Oh my God.
Oh
This
my
is the
God. Is
risk
that
you
Pablo?
run.
What,
It's like,
what have we got?
this is the
Pablo?
risk you run.
Is that Pablo giving us the Jonathan take?
Pablo
It
heard
looks like
Jonah
Shredder
Tong's.
from Teenage
Yeah, he,
Mutant Ninja Turtles right now.
What
Pablo
you got,
heard
what's
Pablo?
Jonah
going on,
Tong's
y'all?
name, and
What's
what's
going
up,
on, y'all?
Pablo?
What you got on
Talk to us,
Jonathan, my
bro.
brother?
Man, I mean, look, Jonah Tong to me, that's a guy that, you know, he's been struggling lately. You know, he's a big part of our team. He's a big part of our team until he's not a big part of our team. And to me, it's like, I think Jack Wenninger is a guy that he's gonna be the next guy to be called up rather than a Jonah Tong. To me, Jonah Tong, you know, I've said it. I don't think that he's that great. I think he has a lot of issues. He's been working on some breaking pitches. He's been working on his cutter. Been working. That fastball is still up. That fastball is still getting killed. But I'll tell you this about Jonah Tong. I mean, you know, he's young. He's a young guy. If you could get something good for him still, I would still try to trade him. But at the end of the day, Mets need pitching still. So why, you know, I don't know. I felt like Jonah Tong, he got killed today. He got killed today. He got murdered today in against the Yankees. So I like Jonah Tong, but I don't know, man. I like Jack Wenninger more. I see you know, a more mature, a better pitcher in a Jack Wenninger. And I said this last year, which is so fun. But yeah, man, what's going on, guys? My name is Pablo. If anybody, you know what I'm saying, anybody
Sure, yeah, Pablo.
Pablo.
What was what did I didn't see it. What did Tong do today?
Oh my God, he got absolutely killed. My goodness sakes. I mean, Swift could tell you this.
I don't know if this is updated, but his ERA is 4.46. Last time we looked at it was 5.5. So yeah, it went down until I guess today. I'm gonna review Pablo. I'm with you, Pablo. I don't believe in the kid. I think he should be a big trade chip. Going back to the conversation about PCA,
Wait, before you do, Pope, I'll give you his line. 1 2/3 innings, 7 runs, 6 earned, on 5 hits, 3 walks, and he only struck out 2.
Yeah, that
3 wild pitches, and he gave up 2 home runs. So
yeah, boy stinks. When all those pitchers that nobody knows, by the way, that Swift was talking about, that's in high A and double A and down, those are the guys that we're gonna have to get more checkers. That kid ain't it. That kid needs to get traded. But the PCA conversation, right? So this is why, and look, this is why you can have this conversation right now. Look, Jonah Tong, we could trade him because we have a pretty good farm now. That's why you couldn't do that in 2021. And I was not happy when it happened at the time. Not because I thought PCA was gonna be, you know, an all-star like he was last year, but because we didn't have that much, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't believe in the team. I was one of those in the minority that did not believe in that team. You know what I'm saying? I know you needed a shortstop at the time. Javi and Javi Baez did that until Lindor came back, and you know what I'm saying, Lindor wanted it, but it's just sometimes you didn't do this. By the way, the other guy they asked for was Alvarez. You know what I'm saying? They got PCA. So they also asked for Brett Beatty too. So it was one of the 3. Look at that. That would have been interesting. So if any of those things would have happened, none of that happened. So it doesn't matter though, because the reason that PCA was brought up for me anyway in the space was because we have 2 guys now, and that's interesting. It's just that the Mets, and to David Stern's credit, you know what I'm saying, he doesn't get that much flowers, but I think he won't make a dumb trade like that if we only had 4 or 5 blue chip guys. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at with the PCA situation. So I don't know if you guys want to keep chatting about it.
I mean, the PCA situation, that's a trade that obviously at the time, they just wanted to get some Javier Baez and Trevor Williams, and you traded away a PCA. That was a tough one. That was a real tough one, and I feel like that has hurt this organization in many ways. But now with PCA in Chicago, now you have a AJ Ewing, and now you have a guy like a Carson Benz. So I feel like I understand the PCA thing, but at the end of the day, man, we got our young outfielders right now, and I think they're doing a good job, and it's only gonna get better. And man, I get it. PCA, you know, he brings that power, he brings that speed. Plays amazing defense. I understand that, but I tell you, you know, we got to get away from the PCA stuff. We got to get away from it because
I'm over it, man.
That's done and done. That's done and done. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, real quick, ninja emojis in the chat, man. Ninja emojis in the chat. You know, real quick, I know we got to wrap soon, but do you guys remember the timing of the Javi Baez trade? So we traded for Javi Baez, and then later that afternoon we had a press conference about Jacob deGrom. Am I remembering that correctly? Because they traded for him, everybody was hyped, and then like 2 hours later they had a press conference about Jacob deGrom, and I think he was going on the injured list and all this shit, bro. So that excitement, you know, because I was excited for Javi Baez. The team was in first place, you know, in the division at that point too. And then once you heard that Jacob deGrom news, like shortly after, I'm like, yeah, this is probably not going to end up the way we wanted to. So,
I mean,
oh man.
And he was killing it. He was killing it with the Mets. Javi Baez, he was killing it. He brought that energy. He brought that speed. He was bringing that magic, the stolen bases. Like, I mean, he was killing it. He had a good average with us, you know, in that little time span. But that's not a trade that you make. That's not a trade that you make. And clearly, Zach Scott made that trade. And he, you know, Zach Scott has said that he didn't think he was going to hit for power. He didn't think he was going to hit for power. And clearly, he has hit for power.
Yeah. Was he the guy that got the Dewey, or was he the guy that sent the dick pic to the reporter?
Yeah, one of those. One of those.
Some dark times for our Popos, bro.
No, that was you're mixing up Zach Scott. He was the guy that got drunk in his car.
Yeah, that's the Dewey. He got drunk in his car. But you know, Rick, it's funny because I was looking back at the article that talked about the trade. We acquired also Trevor Williams in that trade, and the blurb in that article was to provide a measure of starting pitching depth, something that could prove useful with Jacob deGrom likely out until at least September. And I mean, that was the start of the Jacob deGrom. I don't know if he's going to finish the year because he's trying to throw 103 every single time he's out there. You know, I'm glad that he found that like middle ground where he's throwing 98 and he's still producing 2 ERAs. But you know, those were the times. Those were the times. And that was actually, it was weird because they had Sandy Alderson made a quote in this article. It was he said this was about sustaining success because remember he was there during that transition period while Cohen was still waiting for David Stearns to not to bring him back up. For David Stearns to be out of his contract in Milwaukee. So really interesting.
That whole PCA thing led to hesitancy in 2022 in the trade.
Correct. Yeah, well, that's the thing, though. What was the difference? Billy Epler, he wasn't, look, and he didn't make any great trades in 2022, but he also didn't give up anybody of substance. And it's like, that's one of those, was a trade going to help that 2022 team? You know what I'm saying? They had enough talent to do it on their own. They didn't. The year before, I didn't believe in a team, and they made the big trade. And then look, so it's one of those things.
Also that PCA trade, they wanted Mark Vientos first. They really wanted Mark Vientos first, and we kept on saying no to Mark Vientos. We said like no, and then they kind of said like because I believe one of the guys, Jared Porter, who is the guy who was sent that dick, or somebody who had been in the Mets organization, and then they went to the Cubs. They were like, no, trade for PCA. That's the guy that you want. And they were like, all right, fine, we'll trade for PCA.
Because you know what's the difference, Swift? They have a better organization at the time than us. So they knew what they were going to get.
I know. What's his face had already left. I think it was still Jed Hoyer, and the Cubs are only like on
I guess
better process. Better process. I will say this. Better process at the time, right? Yielded better results. I mean, I'm sure if we looked into every single trade that the Cubs did, we could find some duds.
Oh, absolutely. Right? I don't know how many PCA examples is there. That's what I'm saying. There's not that many PCA examples. Like, look, I was talking to J Mac today, and Shea Langeliers is Pablo's favorite catcher. You know who he got traded for. You know, we thought that the Braves fleeced the A's, and obviously not so much. It was actually obviously the way around. So I know trades, you know, you got to give it some years, but this is like we're already at our 5th year now. We can talk about the PCA shit, especially when we have 2 studs as in the outfield. Hopefully studs. Mind you, one of them you mentioned his name, Jacob deGrom. We got for the comp pick in the 4th round when it comes to AJ Ewing. So those are good things to do. It's always good to have the conversation. I'm glad that we're not in look, and I know we're not great this year, but at least we're not on retard mode when it comes to making dumbass trades like that. So I'm happier that the organization is a little bit better, and we could make a trade for, and Jonathan could go somewhere, because I don't believe in the kid. Maybe he's going to be better for someone else, but I'm happier that we're in a better place, that we don't have to do stuff like that. And I'll be real, man. That 2022 season, unless you got like Soto, like the Padres did, I don't know what was the impact that was going to help that 2022 season, man. That the pitching is what hurt us. 2022, pitching hurt us in 2023, pitching hurt us in 2024, pitching's hurting us. Pitching's a little bit better this year, but you know what I'm saying? It seems like that at the end, it seems like the pitching gets lost a little bit. You know what I mean? So,
yo, before we wrap up, man, my last note to Met fans: stop bringing up Rafi Devers, bro, please. For the love of God.
Oh God. Oh,
can we stop doing that, please?
You brought it up today.
Anywhere near this fucking team, please.
All right.
Jesus.
So last thing, Rafi Devers is the definition of bringing in bad money to a situation, bad situation, more bad money. And it's like, look, I there's not that many Met fans who are bigger Rafi Devers fans than me, but like I had a spirited conversation. I would say spirited. It was a little bit OD, I should say, in the space with Black Charlie. And it was because of that, because
he mentioned that. I missed that. He mentioned
that's the reason we got back and forth. So that was the whole
Okay.
conversation. Like, yo, Devers, and I said, yo, and it wasn't even to Black Charlie. It was like to everybody. I was like, yo, but what's his accession with like bringing Devers, and what's the trade gonna look like? So a lot of the guys, of course, the Manias of the world are gonna go. Me, the Polos of the world, I guess, are gonna go. But like that's just us giving us a scratch, bro. San Francisco ain't that dumb, bro. Come on, yo, Mania is probably the worst pitcher in baseball, especially if you add the value of that contract. So you have to give away prospects to take him. If not, you have to just DFA him, bro. We're not Rafi Devers away from thing. And look, Rafi Devers in the offseason, maybe that's a better conversation because there's no one out there. But right now, to add Rafi Devers to this squad, nah, bro, that ain't it, man.
I didn't even know that was brought up today. I've seen it on the timeline. I was addressing that on the timeline. I didn't know it was a discussion. I was in and out today, but I just don't think, like you said, I don't want to throw bad money to the situation. If anything, we need to really assess this team. Yeah. And I just don't want to bring that kind of contract. I don't care if we're giving him Mania is going to be up in another year. You know what I'm saying? So it's not the juice ain't worth the squeeze, in my opinion. But again, that'll be maybe we can wrap on that next week. But
Clifford, right? We're gonna talk about Clifford next week. So let's see what he got, yo. So any last word, guys?
Maybe it could be a guy like Christian Walker. Who knows? I mean, I don't know, but that's another name that's been mentioned.
I will say this.
To me, with the way the team is going, I think it's best to see what we have right now. So even though, and I know that there are people out there that think like, Ryan Clifford is not on the same wavelength as AJ Ewing or Carson Bench, right? Fair, fine. Let's see what he has in the major leagues, right? Like I get can he approximate what Mark Vientos does? Can he give us 30 home runs, right? Does if Mark Vientos gets some like trade value because he's hitting home runs, because he's getting a little bit of runway, we got to see what we have. I agree. I think bringing in guys with big money contracts is putting bubblegum in a dam that has holes in it. You know what I'm saying? Like the water's just going to start spitting out still. It's bad process. You're layering bad process on top of bad process. And I just don't think that's the way the Mets are going to be able to do this and run this in the way that I think David Stearns and ultimately Steve Cohen want to, right? Ultimately, Steve Cohen wants to have 3 really crazy contracts and everybody else be products of the farm, right? He does not want $400 million payrolls. He's willing to bankroll it. Does not mean he wants to do this in, forever. And as hard as it will be to believe for some fans, the Dodgers ownership is not going to want to spend $400 million because at some point that advantage of that TV deal is going to run out. And then what happens, right? The money situation is always going to talk, and it's always going to dictate how teams move. You know what I'm saying? So I think ultimately that's going to be the issue. We have to see what we have in our minor league system. So yeah, like my man Pablo said, the Jack Weningers of the world, they're not long for AAA, right?
Yeah.
You got a lot of guys in AAA that are aching to come up, right? Pause. They are waiting to come up and show what they got. We've got a lot of reliever prospects that could potentially come up and be a part of our relief corps that we don't need to. One of the guys that I said, like last year, I said, yo, why are we not keeping Rico Garcia, right? Now, mind you, I will say this. Rico Garcia was dropped by Baltimore itself after they got him. So we don't give them credit for just, they made a great trade. They foresaw. They DFA'd him and they re-signed him. Nobody wanted him. The Yankees didn't want him. We sent him to the Yankees. We sent him back to the Yankees. He came back. If you follow the minor league, if you follow his transaction page, they were ping-ponging him back. Yeah. He's had a really great string of success again. But the process by which we were like, but we have Ryan Stanek, therefore we can't keep Rico Garcia, right? That's where for us, when we have our advantage is that we have Steve Cohen. So those kind of money considerations should never play a role. Remember, Diekman struck out Aaron Judge. What happened? We still DFA'd his ass, and he was our big money reliever that we paid in 2024. That was the guy that we paid the big money in the off season. We paid him a lot of guaranteed money, right? What's his face? That we just Luis. Who's the reliever that we just dropped? He pitched.
God,
7 ERA. He was gone. Yeah. He was the guy that we gave guaranteed money to, right? Yeah. This was not again. Money consideration should never play a role for this team. It should never be a consideration.
And to your point, the money situation is what kind of messed up Mr. Stearns when it comes to, hey, let me spend, 127 million on Bo Bichette and 40 million on. So I get what you're saying, but guys, I appreciate y'all. For the chat, my bad chat. We will get to y'all last week. Shout out to Patty. I see Mez there. I see Lynn. Lynn, my bad about today. Did not mean to boot you. I meant to mute you, and then I booted. So crazy.
You booted me last week. That was
that was all love, baby. It's all love. Let me see who else is up there. And what happened to our AR bot? Oh, I see Big Frank there. Everyone that's in the chat, I appreciate everybody who's in the live. I appreciate y'all. We'll have another show next week, yo. Let's go, Mets, yo. All right.
Let's go,
Shout out to Drake. Listen to that Drake album.
Word, man. Drake,
let's beat the Yankees, man. Let's go.
What I really think is that we haven't even seen the David Stearns team yet. We haven't even seen the David Stearns vision yet.